When mainland strategists look at the map, they immediately try to organize it by color, searching for populations that lean conservative red or liberal blue. But Puerto Rico, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa do not follow the mainland's color code. National party committees often approach these 5 inhabited territories primarily as untapped electoral assets, blocks of votes that could secure a future majority in Washington. That approach ignores the data. The political alliances, legal structures, and local economies of these islands operate on a different frequency than the polarized mainland. Trying to plug these distinct populations into the national political machine is an illusion. It forces a complex, localized culture into a box it was never built to fit. Expanding the flag carries enormous weight. When Hawaii integrated over 6 decades ago, it required a massive cultural and legal shift for citizens living there. Statehood grants instant, immense federal power, 2 guaranteed Senate seats, and proportional electoral college votes, allowing citizens to directly select the president. But obtaining that power creates a collision between rigid, standardized mainland structures and the highly localized ecosystems of the islands. To achieve constitutional parity and representation in Washington, territories are asked to surrender the customized local autonomy they currently hold. Adding a star to the flag legally mandates a community's assimilation into a fractured national system. Unlike the 50 states, these territories do not operate under standard state constitutions. They are governed by unique federal statutes called organic acts. An organic act allows for a bespoke legal environment. It builds distinct territorial courts and administrative branches tailored to an island's geographic isolation and history. This checklist shows the hurdles to transition an organic act into a compliant state constitution. The federal government requires standardization. Custom local laws are rewritten. Specific territorial court powers are stripped away to align with federal jurisdiction. Many of these unique administrative systems have deep historical roots, originally evolving out of early military oversight and decades of localized problem-solving. Achieving full federal representation mandates the dismantling of that custom-built autonomy, replacing local flexibility with mainland uniformity. On the mainland, the political ecosystem is defined by rigid 2-party polarization. Every issue is sorted into opposing camps. In the territories, political affiliation operates differently. Mainland partisanship does not carry the same weight or predict voter behavior with the same accuracy. Local leaders build coalitions based on island priorities, like infrastructure needs and disaster recovery, rather than a strict liberal or conservative binary. This matrix illustrates the consequence of statehood. It pressures nuanced political cultures to conform to the rigid Republican versus Democrat matrix. Hyper-local priorities are overridden by national platforms. Candidates must align on culture war issues for funding, ignoring the island's immediate needs. Importing mainland partisanship risks fracturing the civic cohesion of these communities, trading a unified local focus for a seat at a divided national table. Moving past the politicians, the voters themselves participate in democracy using different mechanics than many mainland residents do. While some mainland states allow popular referenda, territories rely on these direct democracy tools as a primary means of exerting immediate control over their laws. This data table details the democratic tools utilized in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Their governance relies on indirect initiatives and popular referendums to give citizens a direct hand in policy. This localized action contrasts with the mainland's demographic gridlock, where massive, deadlocked coalitions often stall legislative action for years at a time. It is an ideological gap. Mainland voters frequently view democracy as the protection of broad civil liberties through representatives, while territorial voters are accustomed to direct influence over local affairs. Syncing these direct participation habits with representative federal election cycles requires a significant civic adjustment. Statehood requires these populations to transition from high-impact local direct action to becoming a small piece of a massive federal representative system. If statehood brings voting parity, we have to ask why these territories have not fully unified by it. Resistance is active. For many residents, maintaining the status quo or seeking full independence are the only paths towards preserving self-determination. The decision is a trade-off: securing federal disaster relief and voting rights, or facing cultural and legal assimilation. For those advocating against it, gaining a star on the flag is viewed as a permanent, irreversible marriage to mainland political dysfunction. This chart evaluates how different priorities align with integration. We map compatibility with the two-party system against structural legal friction. For populations whose primary concerns are achieving economic parity and securing reliable federal funding, statehood plots into the high compatibility zone. Conversely, populations that value their legal autonomy and wish to avoid rigid polarization land in the high friction zone, where statehood introduces more liabilities than benefits. Ultimately, this decades-long legislative battle is about whether unique, independent communities can survive integration into a fractured whole. Statehood functions as a structural trade-off, costing a territory its unique civic identity in exchange for a seat at the national table.